with yours truly, Vocab Malone. I'm your host, and this is an urban apologetics show where we serve the underserved and look into the overlooked. Now, every Sunday night, we've been doing a little thing called the Sicarii Sunday Review, and this time it took place a little bit late because it's super late for all of y'all, I know. But you know what? Most people catch the live stream afterwards, and so it is what it is. I think it's all right. Still think we'll have a couple people join us, but I understand numbers might be a little bit low, but Super Chat is still in effect. You know, we got to do things when we got to do them. So let's go through this, and I'm looking forward to a very interesting show with all my night owls. Yosemite Sam is a cartoon character in the Looney Tunes and Merry Melody series of short films produced by Warner Brothers. His name is taken from Yosemite National Park. Along with Elmer Fudd, he's an adversary of Bugs Bunny. He's commonly depicted as a pirate, as an extremely aggressive gunslinging prospector, outlaw, or cowboy with a hair-trigger temper and intense hatred of rabbits, Bugs in particular. It sounds like Sicarii. Yosemite Sicarii Sam. Yosemite Sam Sicarii. Sicarii Sam. Yosemite Sam Sicarii. Whatever. Listen, Sicarii is a Hebrew Israelite group, and as you know, we do polemics on this live stream. And what we do is we talk about various groups. And one of the groups we talk about that I think contradicts the gospel in a bunch of ways is called Sicarii. And recently on the channel, I've been showing some shows, some programs, where they're out there drawing weapons on people. Now, it was multiple weapons, but it was one account. Understand? So you can watch the video, right? I did a live stream on it last Sunday, and then I actually showed the clip, the footage, and you can find out, see what's going on there. Now, this is a very serious issue, even though, you know, I'm comparing Sicarii to Yosemite Sam. It's a very serious issue. Let me tell you why. Look at me for a second here. Pay attention to this. All right, Yosemite Sicarii. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and one of the ways I got into Hebrew Israelism, combating it, is that there were some guys that would be in my neighborhood on a very particular corner right there, essentially on my block. I can't tell you how close it was. I just would walk there. You know, I would see them every time I drove by to go home. The group that was there originally was GMS, but then they had some kind of split. And I guess part of the reason was that they had some back and forth with the LA GMS camp. And one of the splits was over this sword doctrine. And if you watch the LA GMS, Los Angeles GMS videos when they're talking about rebuking GMS Phoenix, it has to do with, hey, these guys are carnal, you know, they go out and they're all about building up the flesh, you know, they're carrying guns, and when you tell them not to, they say, hey, it's Arizona Ak. So eventually they were removed, right? Now there's still a GMS remnant, but it was much smaller. And one of the groups that kind of split it out from that was called Yahushai's Servants. Yahushai's Servants in Israel. Yahushai's Servants for short. They kind of dress a little bit like ISUBK with the leather jackets and whatnot. But I dealt with them a lot, especially in the early days, going out on the corner. And one time John McCrae went with me. And there was one guy in particular who I remember specifically was yelling really, really bad at us. He was saying, you better get that effing Bible out of here. And he was talking about a non-King James Bible. And he was threatening, I can't put it any other way, that if we didn't get the proper Bible, there was going to be a problem. And that wasn't the only threat we received from this group. They would also try to incite the crowd. Very violent tendencies. Now, one day, I turn on the news, and I see somebody who I recognized. And it was one of the gentlemen in that camp. And the reason he was on the news is because he murdered his wife or his girlfriend. He murdered one of the fellow men in his camp, Ronnie Freeman. He murdered his daughters, right? Left one of them. I believe he murdered two of them. And attempted murder on two other people. We're talking something really grisly, really horrible. Family members, including little daughters, little baby girls, right? This was Austin Smith. This was a member of a One West break-off of GMS, Hebrew Israelite group, right here in Phoenix, and they promoted heavily. And you can look it up, look up what I'm talking about. You'll see what I'm talking about. And I've got video where I'm with this guy. So this is not theoretical. This isn't about theory. Because now we come to 2021. And guess what? There's Sicarii, Arizona. They have surpassed GMS in local influence. I don't know about everywhere. I'm just talking about here in Phoenix. GMS it's hard to find them. It's a big difference from when I first started interacting with the local groups here. It's hard to find a GMS group. And it's not hard to find a Sicarii group. And Sicarii is continuing on the tradition of Arizona Hebrew Israelites being big on the sword doctrine. The sword doctrine is what One Westers describe as the idea that part of what we do as being at camp is carry weapons of some sort. It's usually firearms. But sometimes it'll be other weapons. And there's a video that Sicarii Phoenix is titled Wild West Whitey Too Slow on the Draw. As if they're gunslingers. That's why I call them Yosemite Sicarii Sam. And recently they defended it, and part of it was a lie. And you can watch it. But what I want to do today is expose the background behind the actions, the doctrine itself. Yeah, my man Shael says, yeah, just like the ancient Sicarii. And you got to understand, it is no accident that Sicarii names himself after ancient Jewish assassins. It's not a coincidence that this group happens to promote violence. And in fact, there's even a 1989 re-upload, in a sense, of this original Sicarii group from the first century that was a terrorist group, right? There's even a Haredi gang named after them. You can see all this online, right? They were these Jewish zealots who were against Roman occupation, like a lot of them, and they would carry these little daggers. Looks kind of like the Greek word Sicarii in their cloaks, and they would stab people and then disappear into the crowd, right? And so this is a crazy thing to think that these Hebrew Israelites have named themselves after that. So what I'm going to do is I want to show some of the doctrine. I'm going to show Sicarii Phoenix talking about their ideas about violence and weapons. And in this video, part of it is titled, The Lord is with Guns. The video is actually titled, The Lord is with Guns. And in the cover, I don't have just any Hebrew Israelites. I have specifically Sicarii Phoenix gentlemen. Now, 3 of the images are from the same gentleman, but it's significant because guess who's the leader of the camp? Him. I think his name is Ayathon. He is the leader of the camp. Got a bulletproof vest, walking around, and then he carries a piece, not that piece I've seen, to camp with him. And of course, so do for other members. And then you got that other guy. He's got a giant dagger he's all about. So let's watch what they say. Now, there's going to be some cursing in this, but we need to look at it. But before we do, I want to read something, okay? Because I don't want to be accused of being a pacifist, basically, because I'm not, okay? So this is from John Frame's Doctrine of the Christian Life. Settle in, because we're going to go, how we go, an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, whatever we're able to do, okay? So check this out, all right? This is John Frame, Doctrine of the Christian Life. And I really like Frame. And I really like this book. It's a book on Christian ethics, okay? Let me fix this here. All right. It's funny, someone says, oh, yeah, it's a mock account, says we love Assassin's Creed. The funny thing is, a lot of Hebrewites do love Assassin's Creed, because I guess there's one of the Assassin's Creeds where you can fight the Borgia. They say Borgia family or whatever, that they say Jesus is supposed to be based off of, the images of it. So a lot of Hebrewites actually do like Assassin's Creed. Okay, I'm having trouble fitting everything in the screen. This is irritating. Why is it doing that? Let me fix this. I'm gonna read from something here. I know it's late, but you know what? Some people are late hours, and they'll appreciate night owls. They'll appreciate this, and some of you won't. I get it. Whatever. Okay, it's just you know what? I don't want to mess with it. I can read it. Someone read it to you. It's just gonna cut off a little bit. I'm getting irritated with that. Love, vengeance, and self-defense. The ethic of love is not unique to the New Testament. Jesus proclaims it by quoting Old Testament text. And you see the text there. Even teaching that we should love our enemies appears in both testaments. Leviticus 19:18 prescribes bearing grudges, so its main concern is that we love neighbors with whom we have differences. Now we know how one Westerners try to eliminate this. They try to make only fellow Israelites their neighbors or something like that. But we know that's not biblical, okay? So we're not going to be fooled by that trick, because that's something they try to pull in Jesus' day as well. But continue on here. Look at this. This is important, okay? According to Exodus 23:4, if we meet our enemy's ox or donkey going astray, we should return it to him. We are not to rejoice at our enemy's misfortune. Now that's a big one. Hebrewites totally they don't abide by this at all. In Romans 12:20, Paul quotes Proverbs 25:21-22, which advises us, if your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink, for you will heap burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you. What the New Testament adds is an emphasis on showing love to those outside our own community. The Mosaic Law does extend the commandment to love of strangers, of love to strangers. It does. People sojourning within Israel. Here's one example. See, it's right there on the screen. I'm in Logos, by the way, which you can get at a discount if you use the code. I don't know if it's on the screen right now, but yeah, it is on the screen right now. See that? Go click on that link. All right. And then put in that code and you'll get a discount off the software. It's amazing software, and I'm using it right now. But it is the New Testament that extends a covenant community to all nations. The Great Commission mandates love to all peoples as we bring good news to them. So we are to be neighbors to anyone in our path who is in need, as was the Good Samaritan in Luke 10:25-37. The Samaritan did not impose any religious or ethnic test on the victim of robbery. He simply loved him. So important. It's important for Christians, but especially it just shows you how one Westers, and specifically here, Sicarii, just so unbiblical. Oh, look like my man Oscar, who's been out there with us. Actually, he's done it a number of times by himself, so I don't want to make it sound like he went with us. He does it himself. He's an amazing dude, and he can hold it down. Vocab, this is exactly where I wanted to go next time I talk to Sicarii. I love your enemies. Praise God. Well, so I'm reading from John Frame's Doctrine. All right, Doctrine of the Christian Life. It's a Christian ethics book, and I like what he has here. And I want to read this before I get into the firearm stuff. Okay, it's important to show the contrast in the Christian attitude. You just don't want to do negative teaching where you tear down bad stuff, but you can do some positive teaching so people get some good in them as well. Leviticus 19:18 contrasts loving our neighbor as ourselves with seeking vengeance. Lamech's song is a negative example. Ada and Zillah, notice he's a polygamist. Hear my voice, you wives of Lamech. Listen to what I say. I've killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. If Cain's revenge is sevenfold, then Lamech's is 77-fold. Genesis 4:23-24. Sounds like some rap lyrics that Hakah could have written. I mean, he's polygamist, right? Sounds like this guy's a Sicarii member, and he's bragging about hurting people, which Sicarii literally has bragged about having killers in their camp. Shabar shows a screenshot all the time where Hakah brags about having soldiers and having killers in his camp, right? Not exaggeration. And Alazar thought he was being cute when he said, if Vocab comes to Atlanta, I can't control who's on the street because it's a public street, but I'll just say I'm going to make it a very bad day for Vocab. I can't wait till I go down to Atlanta. Now, when can it happen? See, that's the Lord's timing. But it's funny that Alazar thinks anything like that would make me not go. It makes me want to go. But we'll deal with that another time. Unlike Lamech's glorification of vengeance and violence, the wisdom teacher urges us, do not say, I will repay evil. Wait for Yahweh, and he will deliver you. Proverbs 20:22. Do not say, I will do to him as he has done to me. I will pay the man back for what he has done. Proverbs 24:29. Similarly, Paul teaches, now Sicarii won't listen to this because they say that Paul did not have good understanding. Paul has less understanding, apparently, than Hakah. So this is just for the people who believe in the Bible here. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Never be conceited. Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something good to give him something to drink. For by so doing, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12, because that's exactly what happens when you go down that path, Vengeance is the work of God. You see that in Deuteronomy. You see Deuteronomy, Psalms, 1 Thessalonians. And we can trust him to do it well. He cannot be otherwise than just. As we saw in chapter 32, God appoints the family/state to execute vengeance on his behalf in cases defined by the law. You see the biblical verses for there. This is part of a whole work. This is a very big book, and I think Frame does a good job here. But God forbids individual human beings to carry out vengeance. When people oppress us, our response should be the very opposite of vengeance, loving and serving our enemies. It is in this vein that Jesus says, you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if anyone would sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. Now, Wayne Grudem also has a book that I recommend you get. You don't have to agree with everything in here, but the thing is, what it does is it helps you think through the issues, even if you don't agree with his position. And he has a more extensive section on self-defense and arms and whatnot, and I think it's important to look into that and what he has there, because even though I'm reading this, people will still mistake what I'm saying. So let me just make it clear. I am pro Second Amendment. I am pro self-defense. What I'm now doing, though, and we'll talk about that later at another day, I'm reading this, right, to show the distinction, right? I'm trying to show the distinction between attitudes that we can have and that Sicarii is really all about versus the Bible, right? Let's see here. Russia Wheeler says, please come to ATL. I'll be curious what spirit is she saying that in, or he, but it's whatever. It's Okay, I'm going to continue on a little bit here more. The Anabaptist tradition sees here a prohibition of self-defense. Now, I don't agree with that, but I respect what those ladies and gentlemen try to do. This view is linked to that tradition's rejection of the state as satanic, which we considered in chapter 32. We don't necessarily agree with that per se. As we saw there, writers like John Howard Yoder think that the Bible prohibits all use of force, whether individual self-defense or the use of the sword by the state. But the Bible says that the state doesn't bear the sword in vain. And Jesus even said, hey, what do we have? Oh, we got 2 swords. That's enough, right? And he didn't tell Peter, get rid of your sword. He just said, put it back. You see, there's a balance here with the Christian ethic, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the sword doctrine comes from where Jesus says, hey, sell your cloak and get you a sword. But they misinterpret that with these Hebrewites that have the sword doctrine, as you're going to see in a minute, the way they essentially glorify violence. And that's why I've titled this today what I've titled. And I'm specifically talking about Sicarii. I'm not really putting this on anybody Sicarii, because even GMS had sense when people started embracing this kind of violent rhetoric and violent activity. It's not just rhetoric, because they're carrying around weapons and willing to draw them on people. When you see what happened with Austin Smith, GMS had the sense to kick the people out. GMS, if you're getting kicked out of GMS, and remember everybody, Sicarii used to be, Alazar was under them. Oh, okay. I see you, Russia. I think. All right, Russia. Hey, I hear you, Russia. All right, all right, all right. Oh, wow. Stone Mountain. That's where. Okay. Wow. That's fascinating. Okay. Wow. Okay. Anyways, I'm getting distracted here. Whether individual self-defense or the use of the sword by the state, but I disagree with this general view of biblical teaching, and I think it leads to misunderstanding of the present passage. The situation described in these verses are not physical attacks. The slap on the cheek is a traditional insult, not a threat to life and limb. That's very important. That distinction has been recognized by many Christian interpreters. John Frame's not the first, and he's right. The second example is a challenge in a court of law. The third is a response to a Roman soldier who demands a Jew's service as a guide or interpreter, and the fourth is a response to a beggar. Scripture does not say much about individual self-defense as such, though Exodus 22, 2-3 sanctions the killing of someone who invades your home after dark. That's interesting. Now, I believe that according to the London Baptist Confession, what I think is right on this, if I understand it, it talks about the general equity or general parity thereof in regards to Old Testament law. It seems like what I understand it to mean is you draw the Old Testament principle out of law and apply it as best you can to the modern state as a Christian. And the way you do that is through what you attempt to do anyway, is through a significant Christian influence on government. And I believe that's the right view. And again, this is something that, in part anyway, Grudem lays out in here, which I recommend. Even if you don't agree with everything or you dislike Grudem, it helps you think through the issues. And that's important because not everybody's written a book that big on this topic. Okay, back to this. That's important, though, the after dark thing, right? But as I indicated in chapter 32, think about why that might be. Scripture says a lot about the responsibility of the family state to defend the lives of its citizens by force if necessary. In any case, those issues do not arise in Matthew 5:38-42. And this is the part where the Christian tradition, based upon Scripture, based upon Augustine thinking about this, comes what's called just war theory or just war tradition. And I think that Augustine basically got it right. And that's what it'd be. The world would be so much better place if states followed what Augustine laid out. It really would, including the USA. What this passage prohibits is not self-defense, but vengeance. The context clearly favors this understanding. Jesus is commenting on the law of talion, which is an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. Oh, no, it just did that. Oh. Okay. A general principle of justice to be observed in the courts of Israel. The Pharisees use this law to justify and limit individual vengeance. Jesus says in reply that individuals should not take vengeance at all. Then the succeeding context tells us to love our enemies. The opposite of love for enemies is not self-defense, but vengeance. It's very important to understand. Understood this way, Matthew 5:38-42 coheres with the many other texts to that effect that we have considered. When someone insults us or sues us in court or forces us to go on a journey or asks us for a loan, our response should not be to plan how we can impose commensurate pain on the other person or gain some sort of payback for ourselves. Rather, difficult as it seems, Jesus wants us, even in such situations, to love and serve our enemies, to find some way to help one who wishes to hurt us. Peter adds that when such an oppressor has authority over us, we should honor that authority, being willing to endure unjust suffering, as did Jesus. This is very difficult to do. The Christian ethic is a high ethic. If someone seeks to kill you or a family member, there is no help available, it is right for you to ward off the attack by force if necessary. It is significant, however, that Exodus 22, 2-3 permits such defensive killing only when the sun has not risen. The presumption seems to be that if the sun has risen, less lethal remedies, including help from others, are available. The availability of such alternate remedies in this and analogous cases will be a subject for deliberation in court as judges are asked to assign levels of guilt. So the law of love limits our response even to a home invader. Do you hear that? This is exactly right. And this goes all the way back to ancient Israel law. But it does not forbid us to defend our lives, our families, and our possessions by force to the extent that is necessary. The other reason I think is you can't clearly see what's going on, perhaps, if it's night. And so you don't know what they have, and they're invading your home. You know, they may end up dead because you ward them off, and you can't be held responsible when you can't see and they're invading your home at night. And also, help is not as readily available. And, you know, this is also understanding a situation where they don't have electricity, things like that. But the law of love and trying to find a non-lethal remedy is first, but self-defense is allowed, okay? Exodus 22, 2-3 is a case where the law of Moses negotiates a subtle interface between self-defense and vengeance, proposing criteria to allow the first but prohibit the second. Individuals may sometimes fight or even kill to preserve life, but they should not use more force than is necessary in a given situation. That's very important for the police. And if the police would listen to this, we would also have much better police force, because this would destroy a lot of police brutality. Seriously, man. That's another subject for another time. But the important thing is to find ways to bless our persecutors, to do what is honorable, to live peaceably, to give food and drink to our enemies. Christ has set us free from the desire to get back at people. Has he? I hope he has. God will exact vengeance. We do not need to worry about it. Christ has set us free to love even our enemies, so even our response to persecutors should be a gospel response. The good news manifested in our lives. We will likely astound our persecutors. That will motivate some, by God's grace, to consider Christ. And that's very important. You know, a lot of times when you deal with a One West Hebrew Israelite, and they kind of feel at the end of their rope, like, you know, you've got them biblically, they'll say, so you're going to tell me all those white people that enslaved our ancestors just going to get away with it? It's interesting. That's the takeaway a lot of times for these guys is we don't get vengeance. We don't get vengeance. What's up? Oh, hey, right on. We got George, Sabuela, Ropayan all the way out there. Right on. Thank you, Carlos. Great verse to share. The Bible says, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Amen. Now, let us look at Sicarii teaching on this issue. You will be fascinating, and I apologize for the language, but it's unavoidable when you're dealing with Sicarii. Here we go. All right, take this over here.
Not the time to be rebuking everybody.
All right, so these are the two gentlemen that you actually see in the video of Wild West Whitey, too slow on the draw, you know. And in that video, what happens is Iathon, the guy who's speaking right now, he pushes the drunk white man first, right? And then the gentleman with the shaved head, he follows up with another push. So they initiated the assault. And then another man, Masha, places his hand on the butt of his weapon. And then these two gentlemen draw, as well as an old man who actually puts one in the chamber. If you watch the video carefully, the man actually puts his gun in the ready position. The older man, he's not in this video we're going to watch right now. I'm describing to you another video that I've been going over recently. If you watch it carefully, you can even hear the sound. Hold on, let's do it. He actually puts one in the chamber. Crazy, man. Now, listen to this.
Okay, some music is all right.
So he's talking about music now, but he's going to transition into weapons, okay? And I want to make sure the volume is okay. Listen to this teaching. It's
as long as it's not secular music, right? As long as the content isn't what I find to be offensive at all in any way. It can't be any violence. It can't be any of this or that. Now, we're not saying go out and just fill your brain with a whole bunch of adulterous lyrics and lyrics about, you know.
It's funny he says that. They're talking about music. I'm getting a little sidetracked here. But if you watch their post-Passover without the P party, what are they listening to and jamming out to?
Committing all types of sin. That's not what we're telling you to do. But the idea that even in what they call truth music, it has to sound like gospel for some reason, or people are upset. There can't be any harsh words. There can't be any masculinity to it. It can't be anything that feels aggressive at all. But what did we sing about in the Bible? We sang about aggressive things in the Bible from time to time.
Listen to these justifications coming out. This guy would love Lamech's music.
We sang about violence in the Bible from time to time. A lot of our people forget these things. Read that.
It's the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 18, verse 6. And it came to pass as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, that the woman came out of all cities of Israel singing.
These women came out of the cities of Israel singing. Read.
singing and dancing to meet King Saul, with tabards, with tabards, with joy, and with instruments of music.
Yeah, instruments of music, singing. They're joyful. They're dancing. What are they singing about? Read.
And the women answered one another as they played and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s.
So they were singing back and forth to each other about Saul killing his thousands and David killing his 10,000s. So what do you look?
What's the application here, bro? This is part of the problem with these guys thinking that they're Israelites, because they don't know how to separate the fact that they're not under theocracy. Their doctrine is very confusing. What exact state are they in right now? Right? And this is part of the problem with these guys thinking they're Israelites, because then they go to these passages, they have no clue how to interpret them, and they're just going to make a massive mess about it. Yeah, watch this. Judah the Lion. You missed it. I already said I'm pro Second Amendment. You missed it. I went over the whole thing in the beginning. And so for you to come in here all late, caping for Sicarii, just shows that even GOCC is closer to Sicarii than they would like to admit. Now, let's continue on with this.
These jakes that's around here today talking this madness would have heard them women singing that back then and tried to point them out for being wrong about something. No, that was a beautiful song that they were singing with joy in their hearts because we slayed our enemies.
We slayed our enemies. You're not an Israelite. You're not a descendant of David. The type of religion you practice is way closer to the Philistines than it is the Israelites. Seriously.
Okay. We slayed our enemies. And how did we slay our enemies? Did we go out to the battlefield? So give me this. Did we go out to the
See, notice here. So he's trying to go to the Old Testament, and he's trying to do this one-to-one correlation with him and Sicarii with Israelites. But there's no consideration about the fact that Israel's a nation, Sicarii's not a nation, the Hebrewites don't have their own government. And check this out. God gave certain areas within that landmass over there. People get upset if you call it Middle East. That landmass over there. Certain areas were prescribed to be Israel's. Other areas were not. For example, if you read Judges 18, Dan was too weak and didn't have enough faith to take care of their own area they're supposed to get. So they went and attacked another people in a place called Laish, and they weren't supposed to do that. The Bible has rules for how the Israelites were supposed to deal with nations who were far off out of their jurisdiction, in essence. And they did something that was wrong. God didn't give them that territory. My point is, Israel was given a certain amount of land, and it was judgment against the Canaanites' wickedness. Sicarii's not been given any land. They're not at war in the way that you declare war and you have a situation like you did where you have these rules of battle like in ancient Israel. But yet he's going to talk about it like that is the case. This is why this is scary, because these men don't know how to interpret the Bible. They think they're Israelites. They go to these Old Testament passages, and then they're very unclear about in what way does this apply now? Because if you apply it the way he's going to apply it, it would mean you could just have open season on who you think are God's enemies. But yet they don't think they're supposed to do that yet, but it's not clear. Sicarii is going to create a mess of the Phoenix camp specifically. I almost guarantee it. If they don't change, bad stuff's going to happen. And everyone's going to say, oh, what? I'm telling you, first of all, I'm exposing them. But second of all, I'm trying to help. I don't want any more dead people at the hands of Hebrew Israelites here in Phoenix. That's what's going to happen if Sicarii Phoenix doesn't change.
Battlefield and meet up with the Philistines and all right, you went for it now, brother. This is Deuteronomy. No, man, we went out there.
He's making fun of the idea of like, oh, what are we going to go do? Read the Bible in battle? Okay, if you're Israelites, who are the Philistines you're fighting, man? Because see, notice in the beginning of this, I gave a defense for self-defense, not personal vengeance, but self-defense. A biblical justification for self-defense. I'm not a pacifist. I'm not an Anabaptist. What is he talking about? Who are the Philistines in your modern application of Bible teaching? Because if that's the case, then if you're saying we wouldn't go out to battle, who are you currently battling with your guns that you're about to defend? Do you see how this is a mess?
We fought, man. We fought battles. We fought physical battles, carnal battles, brothers.
We fought carnal battles. The Bible literally says the weapons of our warfare aren't carnal. And do you see this?
Say, oh, you carnal if you have any kind of weapon. You got a knife in your pocket, you're carnal. You got a gun on your hip, you're carnal. You got a sword hanging on your wall, you're carnal. Well, we had all kinds of weapons and munitions all throughout the Bible, right? Now, we've done videos on weapons in the Bible before, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I am going to touch on the subject at least a little bit.
So we're going to go to Ephesians 6. What is the main place in the New Covenant where weapons of our warfare are discussed? It's Ephesians 6. And what's interesting about Ephesians 6, which is clearly for spiritual warfare, is even in spiritual warfare, all of the armory all the weapons are defensive. The exception is the sword of the Spirit. But notice the helmet, the shield, the breastplate, they're all defensive weapons, even in spiritual warfare. It's just interesting. I'm just saying.
Everybody knows that we had swords. Everybody knows that we had spears. And that usually ends up being the fallback argument. Well, you know, it's not the same thing as an AK-47. It was a sword. Well, the sword was the weapon of the day back then. All right? The gun's the weapon of the day now. And that's just how it is. It doesn't matter that it's a projectile weapon. We had crossbows and bows and slings and all that stuff in the Bible too. All right? Those are projectile weapons as well. Give me 1 Samuel 17 and 45. And read the 47.
1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 45.
Speaking of David, right? Read.
Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield.
What's interesting is here, they're about to quote David. And by the very words, it shows that they're not even a spiritual descendant of David. David is pointing out to the Philistine, Goliath, you're trusting in your armaments and your weapons. I'm not trusting in that. I'm trusting in God. Let me just think about this. You come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, who you had to fight. And all David has was sling, rocks. What David says shows you it's not about that. Now, again, I'm okay with Second Amendment. Now, do I think people who preach hate and slaughter and end-time slaughter of other people, do I think it's wise? I'll put it that way. Is it wise for them to go out in public in a group armed to the teeth? That's super unwise. That is definitely not prudent. It's a foolish idea. And if they don't change, you're going to have some kind of incident with these guys. Sicarii Phoenix specifically. Although ISUPK is pretty big on guns too.
But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of our enemies of Israel. Slakia. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel.
See, he's coming in the name of the Most High God, Yahweh, all right? Of the armies of...
What name is that? I'm looking here at the text for Samuel. Where does it say Yahweh? It doesn't say Yahweh. What are you talking about? Why do these guys feel it's okay to just change the words of the Bible? And if you want to say, well, it's in the original Hebrew, hey guys, show me one place where you have evidence that a Hebrew ever pronounced the divine name as Yahweh. Show me one place where you've seen ancient manuscripts where you can show whether it's without vowel markers somehow. There could be ways you could show it, say, with a transliteration, or with the vowel pointers that Yahweh was ever used. These guys just changed the Bible. Why? Because they don't believe in the Bible. That's why.
He's boasting in this claim. All right, read.
Whom thou hast defied.
Read on.
This day will Yahweh deliver thee into...
Who? Where does it say Yahweh? What Bible are you reading? Your Bible doesn't say Yahweh. Do you know Hebrew? Why do you get to change the words of the Bible? You don't know what you're talking about. The Bible doesn't say Yahweh. Even our GOCC friend, Judah the Lion, he knows it's wrong. Now, he thinks something else is right, but that's just because Rakah told him to believe it, and he thinks Rakah is right. Come on, man.
hand.
See that? He's saying, look, today, Yahweh's going to deliver you
Who?
into my hand.
Who's Yahweh? I don't. Aren't we in 1 Samuel 17? I don't see anything in here about Yahweh. Stop making up words in the Bible.
And I will smite thee and take thine head from thee.
He didn't read to him and say, well, eventually the Lord is going to destroy you.
See, listen to this. He is mocking the idea of God's vengeance. He didn't read to him and say, eventually the Lord's going to destroy you. What he's going to say is David's taking matters into his own hands. And yet he's using this as an analogy for why it's okay for them to have guns. So do you understand what that would mean logically? That would mean they can now wreak vengeance on their enemies. See, this is why there's confusion at Sicari's base level with this, and the Phoenix camp is the worst one.
He said, today the Lord is going to deliver you in my hand, and I'm going to take your head off your shoulders. Read.
You see how excited he is about this? This guy thinks he's David in battle. Who is the Philistine you're fighting, man? Who is the Goliath you're fighting? Because if you really think that, then you could just take off any Edomites, Ishmaelites, Hamites' head, couldn't you? How is this a justification? This is what philosophers say. It proves too much. It proves too much.
And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air.
He said, not only am I going to take your head off, but all the men you brought with you, I'm leaving them for the vultures, man. I'm leaving them for the birds. They're going to be dead bodies in the field. Read.
This dude thinks he's David trash talking to a white man. Well, they don't really think the Philistines are white. I think that they think they're Hamites because they're Canaanites, but I'm not 100% sure on that, what they do with that, because if they knew something about the Philistines' background, there seems to be evidence they might have come from way back in the day, some of what became the islands around Greece and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know, maybe he doesn't. I don't know if he knows that or gets into that. But in his mind, that's what these guys are thinking, you know?
And to the wild beasts of the earth, and all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel.
And how are they going to know that there's a God in Israel? Because I am about to kill you.
Okay, I am laughing because it's such bad hermeneutics. It's that he is applying this for a modern situation as if they're Israelites. Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I mean by that. Not because the Bible's not applicable. I'm not saying that. Because they're not in a declared state of war with a nation against anybody. And Philistines, remember, are incursioning on Israelite territory where they're supposed to be, and they're even oppressing them. So what's the analogy here? We know armies fight with weapons. Ayathon, if that's all you're trying to say, no one should disagree with you. Guess what? Armies fight with weapons, but even there, you're missing out because David is fighting with unconventional, non-lethal weapons traditionally. It's the Lord who guides the stone. And that's why he says, you're trusting in all this fancy stuff. I'm trusting in God ultimately. You're missing the whole entire point. The point of this passage is not justification that you can carry around weapons. I believe you can because I believe the Bible teaches allowance for self-defense. But he's going to a place that the whole point is to not trust in your weapons, your modern weapons. This is what I'm saying. These guys are crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. Does anyone understand? I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's so obvious what this passage is about. They're going to the wrong place to even try to show about carrying weapons. They don't know where they are. This is dangerous because they walk around with weapons.
That's how. Oh, was David carnal? Was David not a man of the Lord? What was that, verse 46?
What David got to do with you? Okay, I'm just going to stop because I'm going to get really sidetracked. Pay attention.
Read 47.
Verse 47, and all this, all this assembly shall know that Yahweh saveth not with sword and...
Who? Where does it say Yahweh? Yahweh. I see Lords, which we know is Yahweh because the translator is telling you that when it's in all caps. Where does it say Yahweh? To the man in the shaved head, do you know Hebrew? Why are you saying Yahweh? The only reason you're saying that is because Abba Bivens made up Lashawan Quadash, and then Ariyah followed him, and you follow a bunch of people who follow them, and none of them know Hebrew. When we went to Harlem and talked to Tahar, Sam called him out on a point of Hebrew, and Tahar, who had been boasting about his Hebrew knowledge really for years out on the street, doing little chart teachings and stuff, said, well, I don't know the Hebrew. I don't know the Hebrew. And yet, Alazar still teaches the Hebrew to you guys, and you think it's true. But the man who taught you, Tahar, because you used to be under GMS, he said he doesn't know Hebrew, so why are you replacing the words in the Bible, man? Come on.
Spear, for the battle is Yahweh's, and he will give you into our hands.
So not only are we going to kill you with these weapons, but we...
What? Where does it say we're going to kill you with these weapons? See, he is adding. The point is not about the weapons. Notice this. He's saying, I'm going to strike you down and cut off your head. David doesn't even have a sword. Whose sword does David use to cut off Goliath? It's the Philistine sword he uses. It's not even his own. He doesn't come with it. When Saul, who thinks like you, tried to give David his armor, what did David say? Sorry, it doesn't fit. Saul thought carnally like these guys. Oh, so, you're going to go fight this guy. I know you're a teenager and you're not even in the army, but here, take my stuff because it's like the best stuff we got. And since you're going out there, because I'm like kind of afraid, you take this. And David's like, I can't use this, bro. He goes out like a shepherd boy, doesn't he? These guys don't know what the Bible's about. If you want to talk about self-defense, you're in the wrong place. You don't even know where you are. This passage is the opposite of what you need to look for.
Telling you that it's not the weapons that are winning this fight for us. It's the Most High God, Yahweh, that's delivering you to us for us to kill. That's why when people say,
what's his name? Then why are you going here to talk about weapons you can use?
Not your faith in your weapons. Duh, you don't put your faith in your weapons. You put your faith in the Most High God. Your sword can go dull. Your gun can jam. You got a sling. Your arm can cramp. Okay? You put your faith in the Most High God and you use the weapons that He gave you to slay your enemies. All right? Give me verse 49.
Who are your enemies you need to slay here? So imagine, I want everyone to stop. Don't think you're who you are right now. Think of yourself as a Sicarii underling. Whatever your name is, don't think of that name, okay? Think of yourself as a one West Hebrew Israelite. You're a faithful person who goes out on the street whenever you can, or let's say you're in a place where they don't have a camp or something, and maybe you're just someone who regularly watches their videos. Whatever it is, you're under the influence in some way by Sicarii, okay? Think about that. You probably don't know the Bible very well. I mean, these men are your teachers. You wouldn't be in the camp if you knew the Bible well because you would never sit under these kind of guys. But yet you're very moldable, easily influenced, and they're teaching this lesson about firearms and using it as a defense ultimately to carry them out to camp. He's talking about weapons to slay our enemies. Who is he talking about to you in your mind? Do you know? Do you understand? To the average Sicarii underling, what do you think he's saying here? What is he saying? Who is the modern enemy that Sicarii needs to slay? Because they're not at war, so I don't know why they're using this example when Israel's at war. They're not in a nation, and yet this is where they're going. What are you saying? You guys need to tighten up. It's foolish of you if you're going to teach these violent doctrines to go out at camp armed like you do, because you're just asking for something bad to happen. Most likely you killing someone else, because there would be more of you than there would be of the person. You would end up killing somebody, most likely. Nobody should want that, though. I don't. It'd be in my backyard. So, what are you guys saying, man?
Verse 49, and David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead.
So he smote the Philistine in his forehead with the...
Listen to what this dude says here. He's going to use some offensive language. Everyone pay attention. If you haven't been paying attention, pay attention right now. Ask yourself, is this how a biblical, godly man would teach the Bible about? Listen to this, okay? Listen.
Stone that he cast forth with the sling, read.
And the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth.
So the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. He didn't just get bonked on the head and it bounced off. It went in his skull. He shot that man in the face, all right? So don't tell me nothing about the Lord's not with men having guns, all right? David shot a nigga in the face. Get over it, man. Give me 2 Chronicles 26 and 3.
Just want to rewind that part here. I'm going to make myself smaller so you can really hear this. You guys ready for this? Listen to this. This man leads the local camp here. Iathon, the one who just said that. He's the leader of Sicarii. And his number 2 is the guy with the shaved head, I think. At least it seems like it for what I'm going to ascertain. And he's over there laughing, snickering about the way he's saying it. Listen to this.
With the stone that he cast forth with the sling, read.
And the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth.
So the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. He didn't just get bonked on the head and it bounced off. It went in his skull. He shot that man in the face, all right? So don't tell me nothing about the Lord's not with men having guns, all right? David shot a nigga in the face. Get over it, man. Give me 2 Chronicles 26 and 3. Smote the Philistine in his...
Just one more time. Again, watch the guy with the shaved head. Watch how funny he thinks it all is. David shot him. Imagine reading the story of David and Goliath, and the implication is the Bible basically makes it okay for you to shoot people in the face. Who, though? What is the application? You're not at war. You're not in the military. You're not in a nation. Who are you saying it's okay to shoot in the face, Iathon? It's not clear. You guys are asking for trouble. You're going to have some members who are going to go astray. Do you understand this? You guys got to tighten this up. You're going to end up like Austin Smith. One of you is going to be the next Austin Smith if you don't tighten this up. That's exactly what's going to happen. I don't want to be right about this. I hope this warning works.
Forehead with the stone that he cast forth with the sling, read.
And the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth.
So the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. He didn't just get bonked on the head and it bounced off. It went in his skull. He shot that man in the face, all right? So don't tell me nothing about the Lord's not with men having guns, all right? David shot a nigga in the face. Get over it, man. Give me 2 Chronicles 26 and 3.
So David put a stone into Goliath's forehead that was guided by the Lord. And the implication is that we can have guns. Do you guys understand that? This is Sicarii Phoenix. Sicarii camp in Phoenix. They're in good standing with the main body still. Because I just saw Hakah trying to come to the rescue recently. And yet, this is what they're talking about. Yeah, GOCC, you know it's not good. See, I know other Hebrewites aren't down with this.
And the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth.
So the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. He didn't just get bonked on the head and it bounced off. It went in his skull. He shot that man in the face, all right? So don't tell me nothing about the Lord's not with men having guns, all right? David shot a nigga in the face. Get over it, man. Give me 2 Chronicles 26 and 3.
Okay.
dead Philistine, man. If y'all was around in David's day, y'all would probably be trying to stop him and let the Philistines damn take over because y'all was scared of how big Goliath was. What's the Philistine army gonna think about us if we carrying swords, Ak? Who cares, man? If the Lord's with you, you gonna win.
See, notice all the confusion here. What Israelite would say, hey, we shouldn't have swords when we fight the Philistines in armed conflict? No Israelite is saying that back then. What are you talking about? This is not a modern application. But he's talking about fellow Hebrew Israelites who say you shouldn't be having guns at camp because it's a bad look. And he's making fun of that using a military situation from ancient Israel. But they're going to camp to yell at people, not to challenge people to duels or, have showdowns at noon like the OK Corral. So how is it the same? Do you understand how problematic this is? Someone's going to end up dead or seriously injured at the hand of one of these guys. You know it's true, man.
Read. 2 Chronicles 26 and verse 3. 16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Jecoliah of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of Yahweh, according to all that his father Amaziah did.
So this man was ruling in Israel. He did right in the sight of the Lord, right? Read.
Verse 5, and he sought...
As a matter of fact, go down to 14.
Verse 14. And Uzziah prepared for them throughout all the host shields and spears and helmets
and habergeons
and habergeons.
That's like body armor. All right, read.
And bows and slings to cast stones.
So he had all kinds of edged weapons, ranged weapons, shields, helmets, body armor, all that stuff. Was this a man that didn't have any faith, or was he a man of the Lord at this point in time? All right. People want to do is they want to nitpick and say, oh, well, brother fell off later on. Well, he didn't.
No, that's the wrong answer. It's not brother fell off later on. It's Uzziah is the king of Jerusalem. He is responsible for their self-defense. He's responsible for having the weapons of war ready when they go to war against the Philistines, as mentioned in verse 6. Uzziah is responsible for having the army being in a prepared state. What? He's supposed to have an army fit for war, as verse 11 says. What does that have to do with you? You're not King Uzziah over a nation. These dudes are using this verse as a proof text to stack up weapons. Do you understand how problematic this is?
Fall off at this point, and he had the munitions stored up, and he was doing right in the sight of the Lord, right? So it's not wrong to have these things.
Bro, did he really use King Uzziah, who one of the responsibilities of the king is to have the nation ready for offensive and defensive warfare, as justification for Sicarii to have weapons? The madness is insane. Here's what's so crazy. The Bible advocates for self-defense. There are passages he could go to for self-defense. Instead, he's going to these irrelevant passages just to show that Israelites use weapons in warfare. That's not a revelation. This is what I'm saying. You should not be teaching the Bible. You shouldn't be going on the corner. And if you do, because of the confusion and the sword doctrine that you promote, you shouldn't be taking weapons to camp, because it's going to end up in somebody getting hurt. I'm telling you, Sicarii Phoenix is playing a dangerous game. And we've already seen it. And when I was out there, not only did they lie and defend, they also indicated they had pulled weapons at camp more than one time.
Drop that. Give me Luke 11 and 21.
Book of Luke, chapter 11.
And if you're a Hebrew Israelite, you should be, you know what, honestly, you should be agreeing with me on this. Look, I know a lot of you don't like me and what's vocab motivation and he's a Jesuit. Whatever, you know. You should still be agreeing with me on this. Most of you know that I'm right. Some of you are so brainwashed, you have to still defend their madness. Most of you know I'm right about Sicarii, and I'm showing you specifically Sicarii Phoenix is the worst. It's something about the Arizona culture, because out here it's kind of an independent state, you know, cowboy state. Tombstone is here. I mean, Tombstone really happened here. Shootout at the OK Corral. And there's a vibe, you know, a lot of modern day cowboys. And, you know, you can't be pulling stuff in Arizona because there's a lot of people with firearms at all times. I am for all that, but that can be taken too far. So you have Hebrew Israelism kind of mixed with Arizona culture in a way, which is like modern day gunslinger mentality with some of these guys. And you have these two things combined, and it's bad. And that's why Yahushai's servants, what happened with them, and that's why they got kicked out of GMS. And Sicarii Phoenix is getting set to be Yahushai's servants 2.0. Alazar, Hakah, Hassad, Taz, Yatab, whoever's in official leadership for Sicarii, you don't have to like me. You can make new videos about my family or whatever you want to do. Talk about children and be perverts. Whatever you want to do. Why don't you just listen to me on this point? You've got to get this firearm, gun, sword doctors up. You need to tighten up. It is not a game. Someone is going to get hurt. And Alazar, you know all that money you're making right now through that Cash App that you pay to to yourself or whatever is going on there? That's going to dry up real quick if you guys are out there shooting people like Yosemite Sam. And you know I'm right. So you need to tighten this up. This is not a game. Why do you think you're immune from rogue members who are still part of your group, like what happened to Yahushai servants? You are the new Yahushai servant. I saw it with Austin Smith. I was there. Only the people in the camp know the situation better than me. There's no outsider who knows the situation about Yahushai servants and Austin Smith better than me. I'm not saying he was my best friend. I'm not saying I know it better than the family. I said outsider, meaning someone not in the camp, not an outsider. You need to listen to what I'm saying, man. You need to listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah. Verse 21.
What color are those letters, Zach?
They're red.
All right, read them.
Sicari's doctrine is stupid. I am sorry. What color are those letters are? Do you think that's a clever point? Part of the reason he says that is because their camp denigrates the rest of the New Testament. But if you've got Hakah running around telling us Mark got stuff wrong, then how do we know Mark is right when he has red letters? How do we know the red letters that Mark transcribed are right? And that would go over to Luke as well.
When a strong man armed keepeth his place, When a strong man armed keepeth his palace, his goods are in peace.
So when a strong man who is armed keepeth his palace, his goods are in peace. Read.
But when a stronger than he, shall come upon him and overcome him, he taketh from him all his armor wherein he trusted, and divideth his spoils.
So when somebody who's stronger than him and might have better weaponry than him come and overtake that man,
and have better weaponry than him? It doesn't say that. This dude is putting stuff about guns and ammunition into the Bible that's not there. When someone comes who has better weaponry. Where does it say that? Oh, because it says fully armed? No, that's the guy who's guarding the palace. Let me read this from the ESV. I'm going to show you something else. Ayathon, this parable that Jesus gives is about Jesus and the devil. This is a parable in Luke 11:14, going down to verse 23. And the parable is about Jesus and the devil. You guys don't know how to navigate the Bible. You should not be teaching anyone. I don't care how many tests Alazar gave you through Google Docs. You have no business teaching anyone the Bible. You know what? maybe you should become a weapons instructor. Go out on one of the ranges out there off of Happy Valley Road, you know what I'm talking about, or Far Mesa, and become a weapons instructor. Put down the Bible as far as being a teacher, become a student under someone who actually knows the Bible, teach firearms. My bet is you were more of an expert with those than you are with the scripture. Let me read to you what this says. Luke 11:14. Now he was casting out a demon that was mute. When the demon had gone out, the mute man spoke, and the people marveled. But some of them said, he cast out demons by Beelzebul, the prince of demons, while others, to test him, kept seeking from him a sign from heaven. But he, knowing their thoughts, by the way, Jesus is God, evidence, no prophet did this kind of thing in the same way Jesus did, said to them, now notice, Jesus is casting out demons. They're saying, oh, it's by the power of Satan. He drops a parable. This dude is going to go here to show that you can carry around guns and need to be fully armed. What? Every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and the divided household falls. And if Satan also was divided against himself, how will his kingdom stand? Jesus using logic, by the way, there. For you say that I cast out demons by Beelzebul, and if I cast out demons by Beelzebul, by whom do your sons cast them out? Oh, Jesus is very logical here. Therefore, they will be your judges. Notice how he flips their own standard upon them. Beautiful. But if it is by the finger of God that I cast out demons, then the kingdom of God has come upon you. So he puts them in a conundrum, puts them in a catch-22. Now watch this little parable at the end. In context, Ayathon, when a strong man, fully armed, guards his own place, his goods are safe, but when stronger than he attacks him and overcomes him, he takes away his armor in which he trusted and divides his spoil. Notice, don't trust in your armor. Whoever is not with me is against me, and whoever does not gather with me scatters. Now listen to what he does to this parable.
He takes all the weapons and armor that he trusted in and his spoils. The point is, you don't trust in your weapon. You trust in Yahweh. That's been the point the whole time. But that doesn't mean you don't have the weapon. If you have it, they can't just run up in your house.
But the guy was fully armed. He's saying two different things. But the parable is not about having weapons. That's not what it's about. Do you understand this, guys? That's not the point of this passage at all. This is an analogy. So basically, who is this someone stronger? Ayathon, do you know? Pop quiz. 11:22. When one stronger than he attacks him and overcomes him. Hey, Ayathon, who is the one stronger? Who's the one stronger there? Ayathon, are you listening? In Luke 11 that you just went to, Luke 11:22, where it says someone stronger, when one stronger than he attacks him and overcomes him, in the parable that Jesus is giving, who is the one who is stronger here? It's Jesus. Jesus is the one who's stronger, coming against the one who's fully armed and overcoming him. How do I know? Luke 3:16 specifically refers to Jesus as one who is more powerful or mightier. Luke 3:16, John the Baptist says that. The terms someone stronger and one more powerful translate the same Greek term. So my point is Luke 3:16, even though it's translated different in the English, if you read it, Luke 3:16 is the same exact phrase there in Luke 11:22. It's about Jesus. Not only could you look at Luke 11:21 through 22, but you could also go back to 10:18. Because what's 10:18 say? And Jesus said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. It makes sense that Luke would have wanted people to interpret those together. Jesus is the one who's overcoming the strong man. He's saying, I'm overcoming demons and wickedness. And he's saying, you better be with me. This has nothing to do with carrying around guns, man.
If you trust in the Most High God, those weapons will not fail you, and you will triumph over whoever it is that's trying to attack you. If you're doing the right thing, if you're staying on the right path, man.
What? That's not what it just...
Give me Psalms 44 and 6. We'll close out 6 to 8.
Imagine their notes for their Bible studies. You know? It's so strange that he's going to these passages about not trusting in weapons to prove you can have weapons. What?
4, verse 6. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me.
So you don't trust in your bow. You know your sword's not going to save you. Read on.
But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them to shame that hated us.
So when we trust in Yahweh, he's going to put our enemies to shame. The ones that hated us, the ones that hate him, he's going to put them to shame. Read.
In God we trust all the day long.
So see, notice who he's equating as enemies, but that's bad because earlier he's talking about you can kill your enemies. So it's like, bro, what do you...
In Yahweh we boast
Who?
all the day.
Who? Where does you say Yahweh in the Hebrew? What translation says Yahweh? What Bible are you guys reading from? Oh, I get it. You get to make up your own Bible verses. Okay.
All the day long.
So in Yahweh we boast all the day long. This is David. This is the Psalms. This is the same man that said what he said to Goliath before he smote him and his army. Okay? Yeah, we got these weapons, but it's Yahweh that's killing you by giving you to us. We don't trust in our bow. We know the sword's not going to save us. We give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh. Read.
That's why your video is titled Wild West Whitey, Too Slow on the Draw. Because you're trusting Yahweh there?
And praise thy name forever, Salah.
And praise thy name forever, Salah. So when you see a brother enjoying some music, understand that that is biblical. When you see a brother enjoying some wine, understand that is one of the blessings that was given to us by our father Isaac. Okay? And when you see a brother with some kind of weapon on him, don't think that that automatically means he's some criminal or he's an agent or any other ridiculous claim.
These dudes are basically saying, so if you want to sit around listening to gangster rap, drinking, carrying guns, hey, you're in good standing with Yahweh. Do you understand that's what this whole video is advocating? I only played from 10 minutes, 9 minutes on, but it's a 22-minute video, 21 minute, 20 second. Dudes, when you see, don't think that. Basically, hey, so if you want to sit around listening to gangster rap, you know, with some strong words and stuff, like we do at Passover, I mean, right after Passover, and, you know, you want to drink and have, you know, your guns with you, go ahead on. This is a recipe for disaster. Sicarii is making a recipe for disaster. Gangster rap, getting drunk, carrying guns.
These are the things of the Lord.
These are the things of the Lord. These are the things of the Lord, eh? Yep, that's of the Lord there. Could have fooled me. Now, let's just go over here. Take a look at something here. The Hebrew Israelite Gun Club. Now, they've changed the picture, but you should show a bunch of dudes out there with some guns and stuff, right? So check this out, everybody. I'll blow this up here. I'm going to blow this up. I want you to see this. It's going to be very fascinating here. All right, let's blow this up here. Israelite Gun Group. The Israelite Gun Group. Let's check out the Israelite Gun Group. Yeah, you see all these messages I'm supposed to have from everybody here. Oh. All right, here we go. Private group, 1,200 members. Join group, private group. I just want to show you this real quick here. There's the admins. Notice who the admins are here. Well, Ayathaniel, one of the admins. Huh. Yeah. So one of the guys running this is the leader of Sicarii. 3 new posts today, 43 in the last month, 1,100 members, 2 new last week. I just wanted to show you the group rules from the admins here. Number 1, rules for the Israelite gun group. No non-Israelites. No non-Israelites in the Israelite gun group. Huh. Well, that's interesting. I don't really care if you guys want to have your gun group. It's just makes you look bad. But I gotta say, it kind of looks like you might be violating a discrimination policy of Facebook. This group is specifically for flesh and blood descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Which none of you can prove that you are. Now look at this. Isn't this great? 2, this is the rules for the Israelite gun group. No doctrinal lessons. Don't be teaching the Bible in here. There are many other faith groups on Facebook for that. This group is for one topic. What's that topic? Guns. Any sit-down lessons, street preaching videos, etc. will be removed. It's a great thing to teach the Bible, but know the place. This is a place where we just talk about guns. I can see these guys in here, talking about, I can't wait to use this on Esau. Just can't wait to use this weapon on Esau, 3rd, do not promote any illegal activity. Should go without saying, but there it was said. You guys have covered all the bases. No problem. I'm sure nothing bad will happen now that you've said that. This is the Israelite gun group. Let's just go over here. I just want to show you guys a few more things as we call the... wind this down here. Oh, where is it? Oh, okay, let me bring something up here. Hold on, just give me a second. I'm gonna show you guys a couple pictures here. I just want to show you. Now, the thing is, pictures like this are actually all over the internet. You can find pictures of Hebrew Israelites with weapons literally all over the internet. I mean, it's like a thing, right? But here's one from the Phoenix camp. There's Ayathon. Packing and proud of it. Sicarii Phoenix. Nothing could go wrong. Nothing's going to go wrong there. I mean, why is he dressed like he's a member of a militia? That's going to be the next step, man. These guys turn into Hebrews like versions of militia. You're going to see some of these guys do that. I'm not saying Sicarii specifically, but I guarantee it. Check out this one. Check out this one. These stances, bro. These stances kill me. There you go. I mean, he's got the radio and everything. I mean, he's got dog tags on. Who is he fighting? What is happening? All right. I mean, look at this. Check this one out. He made his own icon. Icons of old. This dude Ayathon made his own icon, like he's an Old Testament saint or something, or like he's got the halo and all that, the beard. Okay, whatever. The dude gave himself a weapon. He got the icon with the weapon up in here. This is from his Facebook. He made an icon of himself with a gun. I'm just saying, bro, what is going on here, man? And then check out this guy, Hadar Yasharallah. July 21st, 2019. Sicarii Phoenix. See the PHX on the side sleeve there? Just want everyone to see this. What part of your religion is... What do you think you're going to use that blade for, bro? Remember, this is the same camp where one of their main leaders, Captain Taz, said, we can't talk about peace. We can't talk about peace until there's 200 million dead bodies. Remember that clip? Let's look up my video, 200 million human sacrifices. And he said, I'm just looking for a good Edomite, to say, hey, you know, what's messed up was happening, you know, come on. And then he's gonna come on, you know, and then he's gonna say, thank you, you're a good white man, as I slit your throat, as I cut your throat. Captain Taz said all this. This is the same camp that said that, and you got a guy with a blade. Do you understand this is bad? Now you see where I got the pictures from, right? And then the guy goes to camp with a bulletproof vest. Who is out there shooting Hebrew Israelites? You know? Like, why do you gotta... Is someone out there hunting down Hebrew Israelites we're unaware of? So you gotta have a bullet... What? It's not even a Sicarii look. It's like this guy. And, of course, he's got a side piece. And I don't mean an extra girlfriend either. That's Sicarii Phoenix for you. Bad precedent. Bad things are happening. Come back next Sunday when we do another Sunday Sicarii review. In the meantime, let's throw on a beat and get out of here. Rock. Here we go, what I got on my arm, it's not a firearm like Sicarii, hardly like Bob Marley. I sing songs of peace on a Harley. David's son was Jesus, but check it out, he frees us. So I don't really need a gun like Beelzebub. Come into my house and you will get scrubbed. Jesus, a stronger man, now we on a plan. Vocab Malone, Sicarii, like the tan clan, peep it out now. They really ain't got no plan. Van Damme, they kicking, now we ripping. Vocab Malone, the beat is sticking. Thanks to Justin Martyr. Oh, the show's almost over, but it's darker. Outside, foolish pride. Gonna end up with someone losing a life. Yes, indeed, the knife, the strife. Vocab Malone, peace, aight. Too tired to freestyle good. Much love, y'all. God bless. Street Apologetics Live. Come back next time. The show where we make apologetics fun again. 3, 2, 1.
Turn your radio up. Whoa. Radio time. Whoa. You're now listening to Street Apologists. Street Apologists. Street Apologists. Street Apologists. Street Apologists. Street Apologists. Street Apologists.